Across the globe, innumerable individuals have claimed to experience chilling encounters with apparitions, sparking debates and fueling the belief in the existence of ghosts. In today's video, we highlight 5 such spine-tingling tales that might just convince even the staunchest skeptics. These stories, reported by those who swears on their authenticity, are certain to give you the creepiest crawlies. So, brace yourselves as we journey into these haunting narratives that seem to prove ghosts may be more real than we imagine. Number 1. Terrified soldiers haunted by ghostly Battlefield Gettysburg cries. It is said that ghosts are souls trapped between life and death, unable to find their peace. The brutal Civil War battle at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, claimed the lives of thousands of soldiers, plunged into the throes of death at a minute's notice. If the theory of restless spirits holds, then this battlefield should be a paranormal hotspot, echoing with the cries of the departed, yearning for tranquility. On moonlit nights, bone-chilling ethereal sounds slice through the silence at Gettysburg, as ghostly soldiers reenact the violent bloodshed of the past. Their phantom shadows blink in and out through the fog, creating a spectral parade that is as mesmerizing as it is horrifying. Terrifying tales have been passed down from generation to generation by those brave or foolish enough to traverse the forsaken battlefield after sundown. The horrific sounds of a war long past are deceptively realistic. The resonating boom of cannons, the stampede of bayonet-equipped soldiers charging, and the agonized wails of the wounded, betrayed by the spectral echoes of war. Those who have borne witness recount the stories with a palpable sense of terror, their usual bravado drowned by the resonating phantom cries of Gettysburg. One eerie encounter tells of a group of scouts camping near the battlefield who woke to the sounds of horses galloping and men screaming in desperation. Grabbing flashlights, the scouts searched in vain for the source of the terrible noise. The night was still, no sign of life or battle, just the lingering spectral sorrow seeping from the ground itself. In another harrowing tale, a national park ranger was making his rounds when he came across a persistent mist that seemed to be radiating an unnatural cold. As he moved closer, he heard a chorus of hushed whispers, growing increasingly louder until it erupted into anguished screams. Fleeing from the scene, the ranger didn't look back until he was far from the haunting wails. Haunted Gettysburg is not only a blood-soaked testament to the perils of war, but also a charged conduit for those who met a violent end. Its eerie choruses that echo through the ages serve as a chilling reminder that the past is not buried, but echoes loudly in the spectral silence. A visit to Gettysburg might be a history lesson for some, but for the unprepared, they might find themselves learning more about the terrors of the afterlife than they'd ever wish to know. Number 2, the infamous ship Queen Mary's undying spectral crew. In the icy grasp of the North Atlantic lies a tale of sheer terror that has become infamous across the globe. The Queen Mary, a monumental ocean liner that now stands still and silent, has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted locations on Earth. Her spectral crew, undying and tethered to this earthly realm, roams the desolate decks and labyrinthine hallways of the ship. Steel clashes against steel as phantom footsteps echo throughout the silent night, chilling the spine of anyone brave or foolhardy enough to venture on board. The ghostly presence of uniformed sailors, trapped by some cruel hand of fate, stalks every alleyway, emitting an eerie aura so palpable it is impossible not to feel a shiver creeping down your spine. One particular account stands out among the numerous chilling tales. A young marine engineer, assigned maintenance duties, reported hearing a deep guttural voice emanating from the supposedly empty engine room late one night. With each step towards the source of the sound, he could feel the temperature drop sharply, the intense cold seeping into his very bones. As he reached the entrance to the room, the voice is abruptly silenced. While fighting the paralyzing fear holding him captive, he mustered the courage to proceed. He was met by an eerie sight of flickering shadows and odd whispers hanging heavily in the air. A spectral figure, dressed in an antiquated sailor's uniform from an era long gone, appeared. The ghostly form seemed solid, staring into his very soul with empty dark sockets where eyes should have been. Then he vanished, leaving behind nothing but a chill in the air and an echo of unintelligible whispering. The engineer, consumed with terror, fled the scene, leaving his tools and equipment behind. His experience is not unique, however, with many others reporting unnerving encounters with these spectral sailors, forever committed to their duties, lost to the depths of time and cloaked in fear and mystery. From disembodied whispers to full apparitions, the undying spectral crew of the Queen Mary continues to haunt the ocean liner, their presence deeply embedded in the ship itself, bound to a life of eternal servitude even in death. The Queen Mary, a once grand symbol of maritime prowess, now sits as a chilling testament to the supernatural, a silent siren song luring those curious and brave enough onto her haunted decks. Number 3. Family flees spectral old woman at Riddle House. The Riddle House, with its ominous build, stood tall in the secluded countryside of Virginia. Its reputation, something of a local legend, had instilled fear in the heart of anyone who dared to get close. But for one brave yet naive family, this grim history was nothing more than folklore. In the summer of 1998, the Martin family relocated to the Riddle House for a fresh start, shrugging off concerns made by the locals. After all, it was simply an old, dilapidated country house in dire need of a loving family, or so they thought. At first, things seemed perfectly normal. The creaking floorboards and howling winds were the only soundtracks on windy days or during stormy nights. But as the family settled in, something rather strange began to take place. Late one moonlit night, their youngest child, Ben, awoke abruptly, hearing an eerie sound that was distinctly unlike the wailing wind. The faint whimper of an old woman echoed through the long, eerie corridors, a sound unsettling enough to make the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. A spectral figure cloaked in white began to materialize at the foot of his bed, her long silver hair glowing hauntingly pale in the spectral light. The fear in Ben's heart was unmistakable, yet he tried to convince himself it was merely a nightmare. However, the spectral old woman soon became a nightly horror, not just for him, but for the entire Martin family. Ethereal whispers filled the air, chilling to the bone. Invisible fingers caressing their skin in the middle of the night, hovering objects, and inexplicably, doors slamming shut made their nights a living nightmare. After a week of this unrelenting terror, they consulted a local paranormal expert. He revealed the haunting truth about the spectral old woman who, as per local folklore, was the previous owner of the Riddle House. Cursed with eternal loneliness, she sought the comfort of a living family to never let them leave. The Martins, now fully aware of the dire situation, fled the hauntingly eerie Riddle House overnight, leaving the spectral old woman to her timeless torment. They never spoke of that house again, but the memory of the horrifying apparition remained vividly etched in their minds. Unbeknownst to them, even hundreds of miles away, they would sometimes feel the cold, invisible fingers still firmly clutching their shoulders. Number 4. Bell Witch tortures Tennessee family with malicious pranks. In the heart of Tennessee lies a tale so spine-chilling, it will leave you with a permanent shiver down your spine. The specter known as the Bell Witch, forever etched in local folklore, was far from a benign ghost. She didn't just haunt her victims, but took macabre pleasure in torturing them with malicious pranks that appeared playful initially, but quickly escalated to outright torment. The Lawson family, a modest and genial group residing in an unassuming farmhouse, was forced to cross paths with this dreadful specter in the late 1800s. Their lives were peaceful, or at least as peaceful as the times allowed them to be, until they started witnessing strange happenings around their home. Flickering lanterns, sounds of footsteps when no one else was around, and the laughter of an unseen old woman filled their homely, rustic house. One morning, they noticed their well-stocked pantry emptied overnight, with not even a speck of flour left. The subsequent days saw their cattle panicked, their fences destroyed. However, these were just prelude to the Bell Witch's cruel games that were yet to come. The real horror began with the children, innocent yet the most affected. Their toys would disappear, only to be found hanging from the tree branches, mutilated. One sad autumn day, little Lizzie was found sobbing, her beautiful doll's face horribly disfigured, as if attacked by an unseen beast. Through whispered conversations and secretly shared frightful anecdotes, the family slowly realized that they were living in the gruesome playground of an entity too terrifying, too powerful, the Bell Witch. The spectral assault reached its peak when the youngest Lawson, baby Sam, was heard crying incessantly one night. They found him unharmed, yet his cradle was outside, hanging eerily from a tree branch. Bafflingly, baby Sam's room was just as they had left it. There was no sign of anyone breaking in, no indication of how the ghost had managed to overcome their safeguards. The Lawsons were filled with dread, living in a persistent state of terror, unable to comprehend or protect themselves from the malevolent pranks of the Bell Witch. Unseen to human eyes but ever present, the eerie laughter of the unseen old woman was their bone-chilling lullaby each night. But the most chilling aspect of this story isn't the ghostly pranks or the spectral laughter. It's the dreadful realization that the Bell Witch, once done with one family, wouldn't simply vanish. No, she would just move on, eagerly awaiting her next victims in the small farmhouse. Who she torments next? Well, that is left for the covers of darkness to know and the unfortunate souls to discover. Number 5. Spine-chilling colonial ghosts inhabit Williamsburg, Virginia. Nestled deep within Virginia's history-laden heart lies a quaint town straight out of the 18th century, Williamsburg. Its cobblestone streets, colonial-era taverns, and elegantly preserved architecture breathe life into forgotten stories of the past. However, when the sun dips below the skyline, the town's vibrant history takes a spine-chilling turn. Resident after resident regale tales of spectral encounters that have driven some to flee their beloved homes. In the dead of night, ghostly apparitions whispered to rise from the very soil of Virginia roam the streets, manifesting chilling echoes of colonial life that normally reside safely within the confines of history. The Grand Peyton Randolph House is among the most notorious of these locations. Erected during the early 1720s, the house bears witness to a long history of strange happenings. Unseen hands guiding antique rocking chairs in a rhythmic sway, the clinking of surreal tea parties in empty parlors, and the low murmur of conversations frozen in the past. Oftentimes, residents returning late at night hear the frightening clatter of hooves on cobblestones. Startled, they look up to see a spectral coach drawn by spectral horses racing through the quiet streets, only to disappear into thin air. The phantom coach leaves in its wake a trail of ice-cold wind that freezes the very marrow. Does the ghostly carriage carry ethereal passengers? What terrible fate could compel spectral beings to wander in such relentless loops? Such questions linger, their answers only adding to the fog of legend cloaking Williamsburg. One such tale is of a mournful lady, often seen wandering the gardens of Bruton Parish Church. Night after night she searches, her ghostly dress flowing behind her as she glides over gravestones. After a dreamy eternity, or perhaps a mere instant, she vanishes, her weeping sigh the only proof of her soul's heartbreaking quest. Unexplainable sounds, phantom footsteps, fleeting figures, and faint whispers constitute part of the uncanny encounters that await those who tread too far into the shadows of Williamsburg. Every experience seems to add a new chilling layer to the ghost lore of the colonial town. That said, perhaps the most hair-raising account is from those who venture into the old Wythe house at night. Within this haunted mansion, there are reports of blue orbs floating mysteriously before erupting into spectral figures of colonial soldiers. Witnesses have endured blood-curdling experiences, and the chilling tale of a ghostly drummer boy whose sorrowful percussion echoes throughout the night is quite unforgettable. Is this the colonial townsfolk trapped in an eternal loop, forever reenacting their earthly lives? Are these spectral apparitions echoes of the past, or warnings to the living from beyond the grave? Only the brave, or perhaps the foolish, venture out on moonlit nights in historic Williamsburg to seek answers. Faced with the impossible, those who do rarely find solace. The chilling truth often leaves them haunted, forever on edge, awaiting to, once more, bear witness to the specters of the past. From haunting cries on ancient battlefields to spectral mischief in Tennessee, these stories certainly provide convincing proof that the realm of the supernatural coexists with our own. Whether you're a solid believer or a curious skeptic, we hope these terrifying accounts have sent tingles down your spine. If you enjoyed diving into these eerie tales with us and want to explore more of the unknown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. As always, we appreciate your company on these spine-chilling journeys, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon. Thank you for watching. Until next time.